Chauncey Billups, head coach of the Portland Trailblazers. Terry Rozier, been around for a couple of years. He's indicted. Numerous other shady characters indicted. This is a huge problem. Now, I don't think anybody really thought about this problem when they started making gambling legal, which is fun. Throw $20 down on a couple of games on a Sunday afternoon. But for years and years and years and years and years, we know people have had a problem with gambling. Anytime money's involved, there's going to be shady activity. Anytime money's involved, it's going to create problems, especially for people who don't have a lot of money. Especially a lot of people that think that that is their only hope, that they're going to gamble their last $1,000 on whatever basketball game it might be. But if you have inside information on that stuff, that's where it's taken to a different level. Now, if you're just some guy that's betting thousands and thousands of dollars on random baseball, football, basketball, Chinese water polo at 6 o'clock in the morning, because there are guys out there, FanDuel, DraftKings, they just made it that much easier for you. Doesn't mean that it's going to take the problem away because it's legal, but it does give people that opportunity to say, I don't have a gambling problem. I'm just going to pop on my phone for a couple minutes and drop a couple bucks, then a couple bucks learns to this and it leads to that and leads to that. Well, I'm going to go into Chauncey Billups in a minute, but I want to talk about Terry Rozier and numerous other basketball players that have been caught for this. It's quite easy for a player to go in and have an account under a different name. Get your cousin, get your friend, get somebody, get your cousin's best buddy, or somebody is going to be betting in this person's favor, or somebody's getting the information, somebody's buying this information. So what they're saying is there are people out there that knew that players were going to be hurt, knew the players weren't going to play, or knew some kind of extenuating circumstances. Maybe there was a pregnancy and that person wasn't going to be there on a certain night, and nobody knew about it until that day. But there was players in organizations that had information that was leaked to certain people that would cause them to bet through DraftKings, through FanDuel, through whatever site you're betting on. And they knew stuff was going to happen and they won money. I know there's a cap on a lot of these sites where you can't win more than $250,000, but the point of the matter is there's millions upon millions of people betting through these betting sites. A bunch of them are going to sneak through. And you're never going to find it unless it's a serious investigation into it. Now, you knew this was going to happen. Like, I'm not going to affect the game because I don't know what's going on. If I could affect the game somehow, the only way I would be able to do it if I was in Back to the Future 3. You guys all remember that when we went Back to the Future and he got that sports betting manual and he came out and he was supposed to win all that money. That would be great. But I don't have that. But there are people out there that do have inside information. There's trainers, there's doctors, there's coaches. Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups is in trouble for something else. There's refs. There's all sorts of people that have inside information. There's apparently somebody right now that is getting in trouble for this, that inside information on LeBron James. Now, you know how I feel about LeBron James. Not a big fan of him. Do I think that he's involved in this directly? I would hope not. The guy's got a shit ton of money. And I would hope that he's not involved in this, but there might be somebody in the locker room that overheard a trainer saying that maybe LeBron can't go on a Tuesday night because he's got something going on with his knee. Or maybe LeBron can't go on Friday night because there's something going on with his family. Whatever it may be, somebody has inside information. I'm not saying it's a specific player. LeBron James is in trouble for something else right now because Russell Westbrook talking about how he's a fake person. I have to agree with that. I'll go into that in a second. But I don't think LeBron James is specifically throwing games, but I do think that there's people involved in the Lakers organization and in every single organization in professional sports that does have a price tag. And maybe does have that in him saying that I got this information on a certain player. If you're willing to buy it from me, this is how much it costs, and you're definitely going to win your bet. So I got to say that is definitely going on. And just from this scandal coming out, Terry Rozier faking an injury, knew he was going to go out before the first half. Now, this is a guy that played on a very high level. This guy has made $160 million playing basketball. That is a lot of money. And that's a lot of money to still say that you're still willing to put your reputation on the line. You're still willing to possibly get caught throwing a basketball game. For you to just actually do that, it's got to be something done about this because money, though we need it, though everything costs it, It changes people and it makes people do some crazy, crazy shit. So the throwing games aspect of that. Now, what I'm going to talk about here is I was looking at something about this. There's two different types of indictments that are going on. Okay. Now, Chauncey Billups is involved with right up, straight up. He is literally involved with the mafia. They said it. Watch these podcasts. Even these guys today that have these mafia podcasts, they're even talking about it. They jumped all over this story. And they're saying whatever you guys are seeing is true. I had one guy listen to him the other day. He goes, the way it works is you get people like Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and whoever else is a big face of the NBA to create buzz about a poker game, to create buzz about some kind of hidden apartment, multi-million-dollar apartment, maybe down in Tribeca, or maybe in Soho, or maybe uptown, or maybe in Boston somewhere, where there's these high stakes poker games going on. They get these basketball players, they get these coaches, they get them to attract people to come to these games, and they don't know that they're being sucked into a game that's rigged. Now, this is an elaborate organization that Billups is part of. Okay. Now, this is probably going back really, really far, because the fact that this is just coming onto the radar, this has been going on for years. I know I just spoke before about how gambling is legal online now, but there's still the illegal aspect of it. Okay. And this is what Chauncey Billups is involved with. Now, there's two different types of indictments here. Okay. Now, once is for the illegal poker games. Okay. What happens is they get players, they go out there, they spread the word, like I just said. Maybe you get in some rappers, maybe you get in some other players that don't know what's really happening, what's going on. I mean, look, that's an underworld where it's very, very violent. Stuff could happen. People can die. People get their legs broken. People could have their families killed. All sorts of stuff could happen in this underbelly of what goes on in these underworld poker games, these underworld, life. It's just bad things. So you're getting yourself involved with something that could possibly create damage to you, damage to your family, but still the money is there and you want it and you need it. And we're not talking about people here that don't have money. These high stake poker games are people that have millions of dollars. You talk about the people on the DraftKings and FanDuel and ESPN. These are people like, me, like middle class, working class people. And there's a big constituency of them that are betting on games, $20 here, $30 there. There's also a big constituent of people that have a problem, and that just feeds their problem. We're talking about illegal activity here. You're talking about rappers, gang members, criminals, people who do not want to be taken advantage of. People that know at this time that Chauncey Billups knew that there was x-ray tables underneath the poker table, that there was card counters marking cards, people knowing that what was going to happen, people knowing what cards are going to be dealt next. There was people actually in these poker games sitting at tables knowing that they were going to fuck the guy next to them. Now, like I said, these are people that probably have a lot of money, or these might be people that have a lot of money, that owe a lot of money, and they're trying to recoup that money. I mean, you look at people that have millions and millions of dollars that have a gambling problem, you could gamble millions and millions of dollars. And it only gets worse. Now, what I mean by that is I was listening to a podcast by an ex-mafia member. I don't remember his name, but he does a podcast, which I think is crazy. But he said that what's going to happen is you're going to get a basketball player who's got a lot of money, who owes, let's just say, $300,000 to an illegal gambling establishment. This person is going to go to said basketball player and say, look, I know what your contract's worth, buddy. It's like, what's going to happen is you don't pay me this $300,000. It's like something bad's going to happen. So when the mafia tells you that something bad's going to happen to you, you know that something bad's going to happen to you. So normally, if you're rich, or if you have money, or if you have outlets to money, what you're going to do is you're going to go to a different organization and you're going to gamble and you're going to lose, and you're going to go to an illegal poker game. And then maybe you might lose, or then might get caught up in being the person that brings the people in, and maybe might shave off some of that debt, but the debt's just constantly going to rise. And what's going to happen is these bad people are going to in turn look at you and say, you're going to get a knee injury tonight. You're supposed to score 32 points tonight. You're going to get a knee injury and you're going to go out in the first quarter. Heavy money is going your way to get over because you've been kicking ass this week, but you're going to get an injury. And if you don't, you're really going to have an injury. And if this progresses, your family might have an injury. And if this progresses even more, you might stop breathing. But for the person that has this gambling addiction, this gambling problem, they're just going to keep going and going and going and going and going. They're going to go to these games, going to try and win money until possibly they owe millions. It was said that one of my all-time favorite basketball players, Allen Iverson, who's becoming a big topic of conversation now because there's an awesome documentary out about him. He went through $200 million. I don't know if it was gambling. I don't know if it was just hanger on. I know he spent $900,000 in one night on a party with all his buddies. That's just throwing money around. But these guys that are millionaires, they have problems. They have addictions. They have gambling addictions, but they have a lot of money. But once all that money runs out and they're still in the hole, $2-3 million, and they got to go to these illegal places, that's when the problem shows its true colors. That's when people start getting hurt. So looking at Chauncey Billups, Chauncey Billups is a Hall of Fame basketball player. He's a current, well, he's in jail because he was arrested, current coach of an NBA basketball team, the Portland Trailblazers. So I don't know if he was a tough guy, part of this operation. I don't know if he was a smooth talking guy, maybe getting people to these parties. But all I know is Chauncey Billups is probably going to go to jail, and he may be in jail with some of these people that he fucked out of some money. Or somebody's going to run into Chauncey Billups. Or somebody's going to run into somebody that might have been in that criminal organization and say, what do you mean you're talking? Chauncey Billups has a big, big problem on his hands right now because he's a big NBA personality. There's a big black eye, like I said before on Penn State. There's a kind of a black eye in the NBA right now. But Chauncey Billups is in a lot of trouble, as is Terry Rozier, as is a bunch of other people. There's 31 indictments that came down. 31 accusations. Indictments mean accusations, but I'm telling you, they all got to be true. So I said to you before that there's two different types of indictments here. There's the illegal aspect of it, working with the mafia, which Chauncey Billups and numerous other people are being accused of. And then there's the DraftKings and the FanDuel, kind of like, kind of letting information out. That's a different indictment altogether because one, there's a lot of violence involved. Two, it's defrauding, I guess, these FanDuel/DraftKings websites, kind of knowing what's going to happen and then laundering the money through different aspects. I guess you could say maybe that's a cleaner charge as to the illegal underworld of it, where there's death and murder. And then on the other side, you might have some federal prosecution, maybe some federal jail time. But needless to say, there's two different indictments and people are going to go down. And there's not just, regular run-of-the-mill mafia guys involved in this. There was some really, really big, big, big names involved. When I say big names involved, you're talking about big crime families. And they are not going to sit while these basketball players flaunt around and owe these guys a lot of money, because when it comes time to pay, they got to pay. So the NBA's got a big problem. I don't know if you guys remember, the NFL had a big problem. Calvin Ridley, he's back. He got banned for a year in 2022. I mean, there's Class A's involved in some case right now. So this gambling through these sites is going to become a huge problem because, or not that it's already becoming a huge problem, but the problem being that it just feeds the gambling addiction. And the second problem being that these players are going to look at what's going to be more lucrative for them, throwing games and not playing to their best ability, or playing to their best ability and giving the people what they want, watching a good, solid sporting event where we can get the hell away from all the other bullshit that's going on in our lives. So the NBA's got a big problem. I don't know what's going to happen. Portland Trailblazers are in dismay, I guess, because they don't know who their coach is. They had their assistant coach, but the NBA for me normally doesn't start till February. I know they're playing now. They got that stupid play-in game going where lots of money is going to be bet on that. Lots and lots of money. Lots of money is going to be skewed one way or the other. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be some fraud in that. Maybe there's going to be some illegal gambling because it's going to go on. Chauncey Billups is not the only one. Terry Rozier is not the only one. Calvin Ridley is not the only one. Shoeless Joe Jackson, 500 years ago, it seems like now, but it was actually a little over 100. He participated in that. Pete Rose participated even though I think he should be in the Hall of Fame because he's one of the greatest hitters ever to pick up a baseball bat, he participated in gambling. And I don't want to hear from any of these guys that they didn't bet against their team. They bet with where they thought the money was going to go. So money makes the world go round, everybody. And this is a problem. And it bothers me to my core. And the reason it bothers me to my core is because all this crazy shit that's going on in the world, at the end of the day, I just want to come home and watch a baseball game with my son or watch a football game with my kids or just disappear from the outside world. But now it's starting to come into that world. It's been coming into that world. I've blocked out the whole BLM bullshit that the NFL was doing, the kneeling thing, whatever comments these guys are making or whatever political stance these players make. I try to block all of that out. I love dogs. I know it's going to sound crazy, but Michael Vick is one of the most exciting football players I've ever seen. Stuff happens, and I try to disconnect it. But when it just starts creeping in, and this gambling stuff, where I could sit there and watch a football game or watch a baseball game or a basketball game, and in my head, thinking that some way, somehow, this game is being fixed. Listen to what Dan Campbell said a couple of weeks ago during that Lions-Chiefs game. He thinks that that penalty was just out of nowhere. He might be right. I think the NFL might want Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to win another NFL Super Bowl. But only time will tell. And I think more indictments are going to come down. More arrests are going to happen. But I don't know how to stop it because at the end of the day, it's money, it's greed, and somebody is getting paid.